I hope you'll share the video and subscribe to the channel. This happened on Halloween 2023, 2 years ago. I'm 25 now, but I was 22 at the time. I'd worked a long day running a community festival where parents brought their kids for games, a costume contest, trivia for candy, and even a kids versus parents dodgeball match. It was fun, but exhausting. Community events are my job, so I'm used to them, but they still take everything out of you. After everything wrapped up, I went home planning to call it a night. About an hour later, around 6-something, my little sister, who I'll call Savannah, phoned me. She wanted me to take her and my nephew Jackson out trick-or-treating since neither of our parents nor Jackson's parents felt like going. Of course, it fell to the cool big brother. Savannah was 15, Jackson 11. Even though I was beat, I threw on some clothes and drove to my parents' place to pick them up. I'd like to ask you first to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new and exclusive stories. Savannah was finishing her Raven costume from Teen Titans, complete with the pale makeup to get that eerie look. And Jackson was dressed as Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. Once Savannah was ready, we headed to a busy neighborhood so they could maximize their haul. Houses were generous, people were friendly, and one older guy even handed them each a hot dog and a soda, explaining he grills every year instead of handing out candy because he prefers to give kids something with protein. Honestly, more people should do that. We passed lots of kids and complimented some great costumes. Then after the last house, we began the roughly 10-minute walk back to the car. The streets had quieted down and fewer people were out. That's when I noticed someone across the street standing in a yard with no porch light on. For whatever reason, I picked up on them. I tend to watch my surroundings. And at first glance, it looked like a hooded figure in all black, their face hidden behind a mask. I couldn't tell if it was male or female, only that they seemed to be watching us. I told Savannah and Jackson to stick close and said, "Don't do anything to provoke them." I focused my words on Jackson since he might not grasp how serious this was. Savannah understood without me having to explain. We kept moving and glanced back occasionally. The person matched our pace and stayed behind us. When we reached the car, they were still coming. I decided to act. I pulled my Glock out and aimed it at them, asking why they were following us. The person raised their hands like they hadn't expected that, then slowly pulled off a mask. It was a woman, likely in her 30s. She didn't answer at first, just stared. So I asked again, still pointing the gun, "Why are you following us?" What she said next didn't add up. In a flat, almost robotic voice, she claimed, "I'm an undercover cop. I was told there was a break-in, so I came to check it out. I was standing outside that house. When you looked at me weird, I assumed you were the one who did it. So you should lower that weapon or I could have you arrested for threatening an officer." I hesitated, then lowered the gun. What choice did I have? I didn't want to risk an arrest or ruin the kid's night. But her explanation made no sense. If she'd heard about a break-in, why stand facing away from the house? How did my glance make her think I was the intruder? Why the cloak? Why tactical gear if she was undercover? I asked those exact questions. She wouldn't answer. Instead, her expression shifted. There was something cold and annoyed in her eyes, like she resented my skepticism. Jackson and Savannah were silent the whole time. Then she smiled, a slow, creepy smile, and said, "If you didn't have that gun, this night would have ended a hell of a lot different for you." The moment she finished her sentence, I caught sight of movement, 4 shapes slipping out from between 2 houses, heading straight toward us. Each of them was dressed in tactical gear, though none wore the same cloak as the woman. My instincts kicked in hard. "Get in the car, now," I told Savannah and Jackson, never taking my eyes off the woman or the figures closing in. The second the kids were inside, I jumped in, slammed the door, and sped away. As I looked back, the woman still stood there, smiling faintly, while the others, 3 men and another woman, remained motionless. A few days later, I received a message from an unknown number. No text, just a single photo. My car, parked in my apartment lot. That's when the real fear set in. Whoever they were, they knew where I lived. I immediately called the police and explained everything. What happened that Halloween night, the photo, the strange people. They filed a report, but said there wasn't much they could do since no threat had been made. Typical. Still uneasy, I decided to check things out for myself. Maybe it was stupid, but curiosity pushed me back to the same neighborhood. I went straight to the house where I'd first seen the woman and knocked. A man in his 40s answered. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Did anything weird happen here on Halloween? Maybe a break-in?" He looked puzzled. "No," he said. "I went to bed early that night. Didn't see or hear anything strange." I told him briefly about the woman and the figures. He looked genuinely confused. He had no idea what I was talking about. I thanked him and left, my stomach twisted in knots. By then, I was certain the undercover cop story she told me was a lie. But what I couldn't figure out was how they had my number, or how they found out where I lived. That realization haunted me more than the encounter itself. Were they watching me long before that night? Was everything planned? Maybe they had something in mind, but the fact that I was armed made them change their plan. Those thoughts consumed me for months. I developed severe paranoia, started therapy, and installed a Ring camera at my door just to sleep at night. It's been 2 years since then. No strange texts, no shadows outside my window, nothing. But I still think about that night, and writing this is my way of letting it go. If there's one thing I've learned, it's to always stay aware of your surroundings. You never know who might be watching or what they're capable of. Danger doesn't always hunt people for a reason. Sometimes it just chooses randomly. And I'm certain that carrying my weapon that night is the only reason we made it home alive. This next story happened years earlier when I was 12.